Battle of the Network shows. Join Rick Brooks and Mike Kogel as they explore the TV of the 70s and 80s through hand-picked episodes of their favorite and not-so-favorite series.
Welcome to Battle of the Network Show's bonus episode. This is a List-o-rama, and I'm Mike.
And I'm Rick. Hello, everyone.
And I think I'll let you explain this because you came up with this idea.
That's fair enough. So we were thinking about action figures or action figures and toys in general and television, how they intersect. And one thing that actually inspired me was seeing that there are Golden Girls action figures now. Incredibly expensive Golden Girls action figures, although very detailed. And I saw one of these at a major retailer. One might even say the major retailer.
And who makes these?
I'm not sure who makes them.
Okay.
But they seem well made.
Yeah.
But quite expensive. But I started thinking, I loved TV as a kid, loved toys as a kid, still enjoy both those things today. Maybe, one to a greater extent than the other. But I started thinking, for one, what TV shows or characters, personalities would I like to see toys made of now? And kind of going back in time a little bit, when I was a kid, growing up watching the TV of the 70s and 80s that we cover here in the podcast, what would I have liked to have seen then that maybe should have been made but wasn't made as a toy? And I think that's what we're going to talk about today. So we each thought about it, and we haven't shared any of our choices with each other, but we're going to reveal them right now in the podcast.
Right. How should we start?
I guess maybe we should do one and then the other, and then instead of mixing for then and now.
So do all the thens and then all the nows.
I think that might be it.
Okay.
Although we could have some crossover there too.
Well, we could.
But I think we should take that risk.
Yeah.
Now, I tried to go in the mindset of trying to be kind of honest about it, and you might think, what was the distinction? Well, I'm trying to go back and, when I was a youth, what I really wanted then, and that's probably a little different than what I'd like now.
Yeah.
And also, I tried to avoid things that have already been made. There's at least one of my, it turned out to be an honorable mention that I think there's since been a toy of it, but at the time there wasn't.
Yeah.
So I would have liked to have seen a really cool figure of then. So
right.
I'm trying to be semi-realistic about it, but not entirely realistic of something that might actually be made too. So maybe we should go then first.
Okay. I found then a little harder than now.
Oh, really?
Because now was sort of I was able to use a lot of the sort of things we've talked about in the show and things I wouldn't have known about then.
Right.
That I've seen since. And because then a lot of the things I was watching either were based on toys or had toys based on them, or there was a lot of that merchandising. Even things I didn't have the toys of, like Welcome Back Kotter or something. Mm-hmm. It's okay, that stuff was around. Yeah. So I think there was a lot more of that maybe than there is now.
I think that's fair to say, and actually I will say that I agonized over my now choices. So it was a little bit more difficult for me for then, but I think I have some pretty good solid ones that I definitely would have liked back then.
Okay. My first one is one I think, because I liked the show, and if this had existed, I might have enjoyed. A show we haven't really talked about. We might have mentioned in passing, but the Tales of the Gold Monkey.
Ooh, very good choice.
I think that would have been perfect for a Star Wars size action figures. You could have the plane, and there's a cast of characters. There, some villains, some heroes. I haven't seen it in a long time, so I don't remember all of it. But there's enough there that there's something. So either in the style of Star Wars or maybe Adventure People, which were the Fisher-Price figures.
Yeah.
I mean, Star Wars figures are kind of similar to those, but they were good at making the planes and all the vehicles and stuff. So I think making a version of that plane especially would have been cool.
I really like that choice. And as I recall, was it Kenner that did make some Raiders of the Lost Ark figures?
And they were terrible. Yes,
I was going to say, but they were disappointing.
Yeah.
So there's definitely a void that could have been filled, as much as Tales of the Gold Monkey tried to cash in on that Indiana Jones thing.
Yeah.
They could have filled the void for good action figures with some based on that series. I really like that choice. Mine, there might well be something of this now, but I don't think there was then. The Greatest American Hero.
I think there were a couple Migos.
There were?
They might have only been, because I was looking at pictures. I think there was, it's possible they were overseas or something, maybe in England. But I did see on the Migo Museum site a picture of him and of the Connie Selica.
That's very cool. Because I would have liked to have seen a Ralph
Yes.
Connie Selica, and of course a Robert Culp.
Right.
And that's pretty much would be all you need.
Yeah.
Now that would lend itself to a larger like Migos style because of like the suit being such a big thing, and you could have had accessories with that. But okay, well, if there was one back then, I didn't have access to it, and I didn't have it, and I would have wanted it. So
I don't remember seeing it, so it's possible it was only in English.
That's the first one that jumped to mind as a superhero show that didn't really have any merchandising that I remembered. So
yeah, okay. So my second one, I think, is similar to the first one, but it is a show we talked about, Voyagers.
Oh, very good.
With John Eric Hexum character, Phineas Fogg, and of course Mino, and then you could have a whole endless array of historical figures. And we know there have been some historical action figures. I've got a Shakespeare over here, and I know you have a Ben Franklin.
Yes. And
I think that could be pretty cool and educational.
I agree. It'd be a great opportunity to get that William Lucking action figure.
Yes.
Wanted ever since we started the podcast.
Well, I should have added that William Lucking series.
Yeah, that's a good one. I think I didn't even watch the show very much when it was back on, but I probably would have picked up at least one of those if it had come out at the time. And
maybe some cool historical vehicles or something.
Yeah.
Play sets, something.
Yeah, like a hot air balloon or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that. My second one, this is a little bit past the time when I wasn't collecting toys as much a little bit, but I know I would have gotten one of this. And this is kind of one that, this is a little bit unrealistic. It's probably more the one that would be made now, but if they had it then, I definitely would have gotten it. It was Mike Torello, Dennis Farina from Crime Story. I mean, how cool would that be if you get any reasonable likeness? And because of his distinctive look and the mustache, even if it wasn't a great likeness, it could still look like a pretty cool character. Give him like a cool hat and a nice weapon, and you wouldn't even need to have, Ray Luca and everybody else but just a Dennis Farina Crime Story figure would be, that'd be top notch for me. I would have loved to have had one of those.
I can see that. That is very cool.
Not exactly a kids program, but I would have liked to have seen a toy. This is back in the days before they were in the habit of making like adult collector toys, from shows like that. So
So my third one, I know they've merchandised some of this later, say in the last 20 years or so, but The Year Without Santa Claus.
Ooh.
Very specifically because I don't know that I just enjoyed that particular Rankin Bass special a lot, and of course it has the Heat Miser and the Cold Miser, and Santa Claus and elves and whatever. But those two in particular, I just remember sort of that doing more for my imagination than some of the other ones.
Yeah, it's amazing to me that it took as long as it did for them to merchandise those, and then it came like very suddenly. Like all of a sudden, I'm like, oh, they've got like a Sam the Snowman or from the narrator from Rudolph, and
right.
Yeah, I'm surprised that they didn't do that stuff years ago.
I mean, it seems like, and maybe the methods for making them were different then, but just because they were already models and things, that would have been easy to do really good likenesses to.
Yeah.
Definitely now they can.
Maybe it might have been like too seasonal or something like that, but still, if you could have found a way to do it, you could have made a lot of money around the holidays, you'd think.
Yeah. And if you make them posable, you can make your own movies.
That's right. Maybe that's why they didn't do it. They didn't want any competition.
Right.
Rankin Bass didn't want to inspire young animators.
Yeah.
They wanted to crush them.
That's right.
That's good. My number 3 is a person that sort of fascinated me. Not necessarily a role model. Not really always a baby face or heel, but kind of a tweener type for a while, and eventually kind of softened his character over the years. But I just think this would have been a cool visually a cool action figure. Mel Sharples from Alice. I mean, on the one hand, there's not much to it, but just think about the classic simplicity of it. Just a white outfit with a little sailor's cap and maybe a spatula in his hand.
Yeah.
You don't need a lot. It could be vivid. It would stand out. Its lack of elaborate features and everything would make it stand out all the more, I think. And I would have definitely loved to get a Mel action figure.
How would you feel if there were a version with like a drawstring and various audio samples?
That would be a day one purchase. I would have a tantrum. I would do whatever it took to get one of those dolls. For sure.
I mean, certainly calling someone a dingbat.
You dingy broad.
Dingy broad, yeah.
Stow it.
Yeah. Try my famous chili.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it could also come with like a little bell, like the little bell he had to summon the waitresses would be good too.
Yeah. That'd be good. And then never put out any of the other figures.
Yeah. It'd just be, Mel. You could have like Alice's Mel, in big letters.
See, like I could see, the Mego ones that come out now, where they are just like, here's 2 characters from a show.
Yeah.
I guess, apparently, I was looking at their website. I guess they have finally gotten around to all of the Facts of Life girls.
Oh, okay. Despite the fact that I only ever see like the same ones, I think. In the store.
They have 3 waves anyway.
Wow.
So my 4th one is one I've seen lamented by other people. There was a toy line based on Dungeons and Dragons, the game, vaguely, and some of the characters of that appeared in the cartoon. Mm-hmm. But the characters from the cartoon did not appear in the toy line.
Ah, okay. I did not know that.
And I think at that time, certainly, because I had some of those other figures.
Yeah.
Warduke and those kind of
I think I had Warduke.
I definitely would have thought those would have been really cool.
Oh, yeah. Interesting.
And I think maybe now there had been something, but maybe not. I forget. Maybe it's just custom figures or talk of it, or statues, something. There's been a little bit of something, but not much. And that was certainly a fun cartoon, a good adventure cartoon. And I was definitely taking seriously here the idea of what I would have then, what was I watching then, what would have been cool.
That's good. Again, it kind of surprised me that they don't have anything now along those lines, because I would think that there's a lot of nostalgia for the cartoon.
Yeah.
I don't have much experience with the cartoon. Maybe we'll get into that someday, because my girlfriend has the whole collection, I think.
Cool. And, Willie Ames is involved. Wait, is Willie Ames involved?
He should be.
Yes. I think Willie Ames and the little guy. Was free. Adam Rich.
Villages?
No, Adam Rich. And Ralph Mouth.
Wow.
All do voices.
Murderer's row of popular personalities.
Yeah.
I would like to see Willie Ames and Hervé Villachez do a project.
That might have been a missed opportunity.
Or can you imagine Adam Rich's tattoo on Fantasy Island?
Oh, hey. That would have been a good episode of where he, Tattoo got a fantasy, so he couldn't do his job.
Yeah, so...
This kid was just around.
Right.
Like his parents were having a fantasy.
Ah, yes.
So he filled in.
Maybe their fantasy was to get rid of Adam Rich.
Yeah. Those guys have to have been on that at some point, right?
At least somebody had to have been.
Yeah.
We'll look that up. Okay, well, that's good. My number 4 is one that, again, this may exist now. There's been a lot of merchandising of Saturday Night Live over the years. Uh-huh. In recent years, like I actually have a John Belushi as the samurai. I think there's been Coneheads merchandise.
Yeah.
At the time, you know what they should have had? Eddie Murphy as Gumby.
Yeah.
I mean, how cool would it have been to have, the Gumby character, naturally a toy, with the Eddie Murphy face right in the middle? I would have liked that.
Yeah.
I can't remember specifically yearning for that, but looking back, it's like, yeah, if that would have come out, I definitely would have liked that, because I like Gumby and I like that character. So that should have been something they definitely should have released that one.
Yeah. Was Gumby a toy before it was?
No, I think it was conceived as a cartoon.
Thing, yeah. Okay. Yeah. My last one is one that they've definitely made some toys of since, but it's taken a long time. Mm-hmm. As a show we might talk about in the future, Thundar the Barbarian.
Ah.
Action figures of that in 1981 when that show was on would have been super cool. I mean, the designs are great.
Yeah.
It's fantasy and sci-fi mixed together. Could have been Star Wars size, could have been bigger. There's a lot of accessories, cool, weird villains.
Like a He-Man Masters of the Universe size would have
could be that too.
Would have been good for that.
So, from what I can tell, Mego had the license, but then they went under before they could do anything. They went under because their owner went to jail.
Oops.
And then in 1985, Remco had the license. And there's like a print ad of a bunch of toys and it just has the logos for all of them. So Thundar is one of them. They seemed to be really into barbarians at the time, because they had a Conan license, Warlord.
Yeah, I remember they had the DC Comics character, right?
And another one, like a Conan-like character from DC, something with an A, a Tarky or something like that. So a bunch of these, and I think those were all, like the Warlord one was like He-Man size, right?
Yeah, and they also did AWA wrestling figures,
right? Which
were very similar bodies, I think.
Yeah.
It was kind of like the same sculpt.
So, but these never came out for whatever, maybe because cartoon had been off the air for years. But,
maybe.
But I have seen pictures. There have been some in the last 15 years or so.
Huh. So there was a chance that there could have been Thundarr the Barbarians. Several times. That's interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, that's good. We'll have to get into that if we ever discuss Thundarr. I didn't really watch the show very much at all. So yeah. Okay, my number 5 is kind of an oddball choice, but bear with me here.
Okay.
And maybe I've been inspired by things that have come out over the years. Again, it's kind of unlikely this would have happened, but I was big into sports back then, and had some aspirations to be a sportscaster someday at the time. Mm-hmm. And I started thinking, when I was a kid, who would have been some of my like heroes in broadcasting? Who would I have liked? They've since made, I think, with the Rocky figures, they did a Brent Musburger and I think a Jim Lampley as part of those lines.
What?
Yes. Mike's
go to eBay.
Taking a note to. I actually saw a Brent Musburger in a store one time, I think, and didn't get it. But who I would have liked to have gotten back then was maybe my favorite growing up, Dick Enberg. Uh-huh. How cool would it be to have a Dick Enberg action figure? I mean, again, not much flash, but all class. A consummate pro. He did all kinds of sports. He did the sports challenge game show that we know. But he mainly was the voice of NBC's number one football team, AFC football, for years during the 1980s. So, yeah, Dick Enberg was the man. I would have loved to have got a Dick Enberg figure that I could have put on my desk as a kid.
I think his face, because he had a very jolly face.
Yes, he did.
It would have been a good mold for that.
I think so. I think that would have translated well, yes.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, yeah, not the case. So, do you have any honorable mentions?
Not in this category, no.
Okay, well, I'm going to share some honorable mentions. I'll go over them quickly. I don't think these will intrude on your now, so I'll go ahead and...
Okay.
One was Plastic Man. Since then, there's been plenty of Plastic Mans, but at the time when the cartoon was on, I really wish they would have come out with something. Gary Gnu from the Great Space Coaster would have definitely gotten some kind of Gary Gnu doll.
Right.
Fat Albert, the show's a little, under different circumstances now, but at the time, I couldn't believe that they didn't do Fat Albert toys because he was all over the place. And this is kind of one that it really was one of my favorite shows. We've talked about this before, but I would have loved an Odd Couple play set. You could have had, the apartment. You could have had a little table, and you could have had Felix, Oscar, messy clothes all over the place, and just think Murray the cop and the guys playing poker. Would have been a great thing to do, like their apartment and kind of have a Felix and Oscar. So I would have definitely gotten those, but I wouldn't have been alive probably when the show was on. But if they would come out with something in the early 80s, I would have loved to have gotten it.
Well, they were making Happy Days things and stuff, so why not?
Hey.
Gary Marshall was not averse to making money from his properties.
Certainly not.
All right, those are good. So we move on to the now.
Yeah.
And my first one is, in this case, is my number one. And when you suggested this, is immediately sprung to mind. This will not surprise you. Search, our beloved show, Search. I in the Mego Star Trek style.
Oh, okay.
So you get all three of the probes.
Yeah.
And with various accessories and, that fit to them. Obviously, styling clothes. Mm-hmm. You could even, branch out into selling different outfits.
Yeah.
And you got Cameron, of course, and Gloria, the main worker there, and maybe one of the other people, Kuroda or somebody.
Sure.
And a playset, just like the Star Trek. Remember the Star Trek Enterprise playset?
Yes.
It was like a vinyl carrying case. It had a few pieces of plastic furniture, the chair and some things. But it's the control room.
Perfect. Yeah. Oh, that's excellent.
And maybe a cool car.
Yeah. Oh, that's great. Would have loved that.
I would definitely love it now.
Yes. We get new listeners all the time, folks. Go back in our first season, right? We covered Search. If you've never heard of the show, give it a listen. Hugh O'Brien, Burgess Meredith, great show, and very worthy of a toy line. So, yes, that's an excellent idea.
And if you're listening, people at Mego, please.
Yes, make it happen. Yeah, you start out kind of firm and then got a little more deferential. But, hey, whatever it takes to get it done.
I've seen that guy in interviews. I don't think he'd like being pushed around.
Okay. The first one I have here is, this is kind of more of a playset thing. David Letterman, A Late Night with David Letterman. I'd like to see a David Letterman and Paul Schaefer, with the, at a minimum, Paul Schaefer with some keyboards,
Yeah.
A desk with Letterman and some kind of glass with like a noise glass breaking noise effect. You could hit some button under the desk or something, have him like throw things and push the thing, and like little cameras moving around all over the place in the stage. But just to have a realistic looking David Letterman circa 1984 or something would be really cool. I think
that's good. I like that.
If not for, I have a feeling that David Letterman would totally loathe anything related to that. So in that sense, it's not realistic.
No.
Other than that, it maybe wouldn't be that abnormal to have a David Letterman like Migos size figure or something like that. But I don't think David Letterman would really have any desire for that.
No, I think he would be, other than for a bit.
Yeah.
He would be appalled.
Oh well, I'll keep dreaming.
Yeah. My second one, again, going to a show we've done, the Sandbaggers.
Oh.
I think this I would want in more like the 3 3/4 size.
Okay.
But it could go either way. But
right.
I think that and, a handful of figures and maybe some generic like Russian spies or something.
Yeah.
And an office playset. So it'll be more fun than a dingy, bland British office.
Yes. So kids
with it would have like 3 rooms. So it'd have the main guy's room, office, have the room where the Sandbaggers hang out, and then the second in command, that guy's office. Probably not C's office. Maybe if you needed a 4th one, you can have his. But enough so there would be some back and forth. Maybe a file room or something.
Like the ops center where they.
Oh yeah.
You could do that maybe.
Yeah. So it'd be like a modular playset. Yeah. You get each piece and then hook them together.
And if you want to save, you could just have a generic like wall thing and just kind of have a couple of little accessories and just change it based on whose office it is.
Right. Yeah.
So kids could reenact long conversations about the machinations of British intelligence.
Right.
I love it.
And maybe a couple figures could come with like McDonald's hamburgers. Cups of Coke.
Yeah. Well, that's great. Yeah. I would get that.
Yeah.
I would get that. All right. Well, I've got another playset idea.
Uh-huh.
And it's also a show that we've covered. And how about a playset with a line of figures for Battle of the Network shows? Gabe Kaplan in shorts.
Battle of the Network stars.
Oh, I'm sorry. I did it again. Battle of the Network shows, though. We should have eventually. We'll have. That's possibly already in the works. We'll definitely have figures of us. No, definitely Battle of the Network stars. Thank you.
Yeah.
With maybe a little dunk tank.
Mm-hmm.
At least you got to. I'd want to be able to recreate the relay race at least.
Yeah.
With some kind of little track. You got to have a Cosell, a Kaplan, maybe a Robert Conrad, and maybe a Telly Savalas too. But
yeah, I wonder. I mean, probably if you went collecting toys, you could create one.
Well,
we know there's Gabe Kaplan.
Mm-hmm.
There's Farrah Fawcett.
Yeah.
For instance, and Kojak. We know they're Kojak dolls.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know about Conrad.
No, I don't think they ever did like a Wild Wild West.
No,
or anything.
But at least a few of the people. You can make your own.
That's true.
And make clothes for them.
Yeah.
Athletic clothes.
Yeah. Maybe we'll get a custom Ben Murphy doll.
Yeah.
And he can be the star of my NBC team.
I, of course, would want a custom John Shuck.
Yeah, of course. I'm surprised there hasn't been a good Howard Cosell doll that I know of.
Yeah.
That seems to be one that you could do. I've heard that I think his family is very protective of his legacy and everything, but there'd be nothing wrong with doing a well done,
Again, with sound bites.
Yeah, definitely. And you could do it right, do it respectfully.
Uh-huh.
The hair would not be removable.
Right.
It would just stay on there. You could have a stogie or something and a vodka.
Yeah.
And that would be the big draw, but I'd love the whole thing. Battle of the Network.
The yellow coat.
Stars, yes.
Yeah. I think that's a good, because there's like an endless, not endless, but a huge, you could build a whole lot of.
Oh, totally expandable, yes.
Yeah. So my next one is a very close to, or contemporary to our show, and I think close to our hearts, which would be a Spider-Woman line.
Ooh.
Based on the cartoon, because there have been Spider-Woman figures.
Mm-hmm.
So you got Jessica and Spider-Woman, 2 different figures.
Ah, good.
Yeah. Billy and Jeff, of course.
Yeah.
The Jetcopter.
Mm-hmm.
And then, to really, really sell that show, I'm calling the villain blind items. Each one would have 2 random villains in it. Because you never know what you're going to get, what combination you're going to get.
That's very true. Oh, I like that idea. It could be a very big challenge to collect all the villains.
Yes. Or you could just end up with a lot of mummies.
Yeah. Yeah, I could see them, like a less scrupulous company might really flood it with a bunch of like mummies, like generic looking mummies, and make you really have to chase the
Draculas and the
yeah
the giant flies and the
and if you really got ambitious, you could do like the the magazine the Tower.
Yes, yeah,
with like only like 1 or 2 floors that actually have stuff on it, and the rest of the building would be just totally empty. I guess you'd have the printing presses, the lobby, and Jessica's office.
Yeah, that's all that happens.
Yeah.
The rest they rent out to Decepticons.
Yeah. Oh, that's a fantastic idea.
Yeah.
Well, if our podcast has done anything to stir up interest in that,
Hasbro, if you're listening,
yes,
please talk to Disney. Let them let you do this.
Well, that's very good. My number 3 is a little simpler. Not a play set, just an action figure. I think just to get a realistic looking guy. How cool would it be to have a Don Cornelius action figure? The man was exuded gravitas and class and style and soul, most importantly. Yeah. And to get... I don't think Soul Train has been merchandised as well as it could have been, but I think the name still has cachet. It's still a valuable brand, and a Don Cornelius toy would be pretty cool, I think. Yeah,
I think so. Maybe it could come with like a CD or something.
Yeah. Package it with something.
Or a download.
Right.
But something, yeah.
Yeah.
A little disco floor, whatever.
I would definitely get that.
Yeah. Mine is sort of a broad line. And a few of these, again, have had merchandise at some point, but I'm calling this the Universal Detectives line.
Ooh.
Just all your Universal Studios detectives.
I'm intrigued.
In the 70s and 80s. You got your Kojak, we mentioned him. Mm-hmm. Quincy, your Rockford.
Oh, yeah.
Magnum.
Of course.
Simon and Simon.
Yeah.
Jessica Fletcher.
Right.
And more, I'm sure.
Columbo.
Oh, yeah, Columbo. That was the other one I had in mind. And then I'm not sure who was producing what, but those definitely, I think, because, of course, Universal was known for their detective shows. And, I looked, there was a Magnum PI figure that came with a car.
Yeah, I
that's about it. That. And I thought about putting that down. I think as a now that would be an honorable mention, like a Magnum line. But but I kind of like the idea of because you see that a lot in the Universal Monsters toys. So why not the Universal Detectives?
I can't think of a reason. They really should take advantage of that. They're not marketing those like they should.
What about Canon? Was that a Universal? It probably wasn't.
That was a Quinn Martin show.
Yeah.
I think now it's like a CBS Paramount owned
kind of deal. Okay. Well, you could do a Quinn Martin line.
Yeah. Barnaby Jones, Cannon.
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that idea a lot. And you could even get Nancy Drew and the Hardy Boys. Who they probably had, well, I guess they did have merchandise back in the day. Did. But there's no reason you couldn't do it again to fit in with this line.
Yeah.
I love it. And I would ask, if you're doing that, maybe get a few villains and just get like a Robert Culp Columbo villain,
Yeah.
Maybe with different outfits because he was on the show like 5 or 6 times, but just find a way to get him in there somewhere. I would ask. All right, that's cool. My number 4 is a simple one that I'm sure there's been like bobbleheads, but I don't know if there's ever been like a good, really like realistic kind of likeness of him. And he's a star of screen from the sports world, so you could do a lot with this one. But how about a Bob Uecker action figure? On the desk. I mean, I've got like a Willie Mays that I love when they, McFarlane Toys made a lot of like Hall of Fame Cooperstown collection figures. There was also actually the starting lineups had like like Walter Johnson, Babe Ruth. Give me something with Ueck, and you could do him as a catcher, maybe like tripping over his mask or something like that would be appropriate, or you could do Uecker as a broadcaster, or you could do Bob Uecker as George on Mr. Belvedere. But just give me or maybe the best would be Bob Uecker in the light beer commercials.
Yeah.
Like wearing some kind of like loud sports coat and
Yeah.
just slacks or something like that.
Right.
So yeah, Bob Uecker. I think I'm surprised this hasn't been done already. Maybe it has been, but if there is, I don't have it. I want it.
Making a face because they can do the head so well now. You could really have them making a big kind of goofy face.
Now that I think about it, this is not this is a movie, but Major League has a big cult following the movie, and you'd think there'd be some marketability in doing like a Wild Thing and the Tom Berenger and just a line of adult figures based on that, and then that would be a way to get the Harry Dole character. That would be a way to get Uke in there.
What I'd get for a Tom Berenger figure? About $8.
Yeah, probably.
Okay, my number 5, again, one of our favorite shows, In Search Of.
Ooh.
So, first of all, you could have a different Leonard for each season.
I like it.
Because he had such different looks every time.
Mm-hmm.
And there would be interesting outfits and mustaches and all that. And then various, wouldn't have to stick to the show so much, but you could have, a Bigfoot and a Loch Ness Monster and a alien, UFOs and, maybe an old lady wearing a pilot's outfit.
Yes.
A ghost.
Right.
There's a lot to go with there.
Oh, yeah.
I think
endless really possibilities, cool. And, most of them would not require, like, licensing money or anything, so you could totally pull that off.
Right.
Oh.
A bag of killer bees.
Yes. With a great, like, retro-style packaging and the line and stuff like that.
Yeah.
That would be a winner. Oh, I love that idea.
Yeah.
Love it. I guess my last one on the list is, this is, in the grand scheme of things, an obscure character, but I'd like to think not an obscure character in Battle of the Network shows. This would be a way to get one of our most beloved celebrities and a colorful character to get him an action figure. Yes, I'm talking about Paul Williams as Allison Troy from Nancy Drew and the Hardy Boys when they met Dracula. So yes, the rock star Allison Troy. Get Paul Williams. I mean, it was Paul Williams as recognizably Paul Williams. Give him a microphone, a cool rock and roll outfit, and oh boy, what I wouldn't give for one of those. I'd give a lot more than $8 for Paul Williams as Allison Troy figure. I'll tell you that.
Well, yeah, I can't argue with that.
It may not be one of the more commercial choices on our list, but there'd be a market of at least one for it.
So, honorable mentions, I do have a few of those.
Yes, I do as well. Go ahead, please.
I will rattle these off. One, like, Pray for the Wildcats dirt bike action set. I think that explains itself.
Yes, and you would just have it go around a track over and over and over again.
Yes. There you go. One from our hypothetical toy line. And there'd be only 2 figures a year. The Genius Award collection.
Oh.
And of course there'd be a Robert Pine.
Yes.
And then each Genius winner get his own figure.
Excellent.
I think a good, like, realistic, like you were talking about.
Yeah, I would like to have some input, and we could even have like a little, like a replica Genius certificate, like
yes,
could be packaged with it or something.
Yeah.
Just do it respectfully.
Right.
I'd like to have any Marjo would be pretty cool, really.
Yeah, and I think you want some uniformity, but on the other hand, like a Marjo one should have actual, like, hair.
Yeah.
Other ones could have molded hair, but I think Marjo,
Yeah, I like what you're saying too, because like part of the thing that makes the Genius Award recipient a genius is that there's something distinctive about that person. You might not be able to describe it, but it jumps out at you. So while I would like to see some uniformity across the line, I would like the idea of each figure having some kind of detail that makes it unique.
Last one, this might be the most realistic one in terms of possibly it ever happening. So, Lego has this thing, I forget what they call it now, but people, can submit ideas and then people vote on them. And if it gets enough votes, Lego will take it into an approval process.
Wow.
And if they can approve it and have the license, they make it.
Wow.
So there's like a Flintstones one.
Ooh.
There's the Yellow Submarine one you might have seen.
Mm-hmm.
And some of them are not related to licenses, but there's a Friends one. I think at least there's a Seinfeld one that's at least made the votes, whether they get the thing or not. And they're really cool little sets. And so the one I thought, and is one that there are some action figures of right now, but the Cheers bar in Lego form.
Oh, that's perfect.
All the minifigures, all the characters. It's a good big space.
Yeah.
So if one of these Legos ideas people is out there, you want to come up with that, do that, I will buy it if they sell it.
Yeah, feel free to use that idea.
Yeah.
Maybe comp us, though.
Right, yeah, you can comp us. But, yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's great. I really didn't know the extent of this program. I've seen a couple of the things you mentioned, but I didn't.
Yeah, and some of our other things, the Apollo lander, and it's all sorts of stuff. So, and somewhere, maybe I was looking at the Lego site. I don't know. The prices vary wildly. So some of them, like the Flintstones one, is like $50-$60.
Wow!
But it's
like bedrock.
It's their house.
Oh, okay.
And the car and all the minifigures.
Okay.
I think at least the 4 adults and Dino. I'm not sure about the kids.
Okay.
But it's got the interior of the house and all that. It looks really cool. But then there are other ones that are like $300 or something because they're really complicated. I think the Friends one is pretty. It's the cafe.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think it's reasonable.
Nice. So. Yeah, the Cheers bar sounds really good. Okay, a couple of my honorable mentions, if actually you've already mentioned. Quincy I had. I had Edna Garrett. One thing I would say is this one seems to be a possibility if it hasn't already been made. Sam the Butcher from the Brady Bunch. They're already making Brady Bunch things, and right. Sam is kind of a beloved cult figure. So I'd be surprised if they didn't get to that eventually, assuming the other Brady Bunch ones are selling well.
I mean, they made Alice, right?
Yeah, they did. Yeah, Sam the Butcher is probably the number one family member. Yeah, considering Alice part of the family, of course. Right. On the show, so they should do Sam the Butcher.
Are we considering Cousin Oliver part of the family?
He's a cousin. He did live in the household for a while, so yes, okay. I would consider him. Yeah. And my last one is Disco Paul Lynde from the Paul Lynde Halloween special. He does memorably does Disco Baby with Florence Henderson and I think who was it? Roz Kelly is on that special, and we've got Kiss action figures on that special or from that special, but I don't think there's ever been a Paul Lynde action figure. Why not? Yeah. You could do something with Hollywood Squares, but I'd like to do something where he gets the spotlight. He's the star of the Halloween special, so give us Paul Lynde with a disco pose or something like that.
Yeah. Although I think like a match game or Hollywood Squares sets, those would be cool.
Definitely. Even a Gene Rayburn with that long microphone would be pretty awesome. That microphone that he had would be one of the best accessories.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It might be a hideous action.
Yes.
We kid Gene Rayburn.
Well, man, we've assembled quite a wish list here.
This bonus episode is almost turned into a full episode. So should maybe wrap it up.
Yes, I think so. But yeah, all this stuff sounds good. I think all your choices I would love. And,
I found it interesting that you were going for like just sometimes a single character or a single person.
Yes.
And I didn't even think that way.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. It was all, a whole line.
Or lines. And yeah, I guess I was just zeroing in on more things. I think, like, even as a kid, sometimes I like the main characters, but not so much when they, like, would do filler things. Like Star Wars, like, I wanted them all. Yeah. But some of those characters, to me, were more filler, and I would really like some of the other ones better, like the main ones, so.
Right, so the filler was, like, Han Solo, Chewbacca. Those guys. You wanted a bunch of Jawas.
Of course, yes.
Cantina creatures.
Yes.
Bounty hunters.
I think, like Crime Story, though, really, I don't really want the Dennis Farina.
Yeah.
And so, that you're right, though. That is the way I kind of focused on things. But, yeah, I think maybe nowadays it seems like you mentioned, companies are more willing to just do, like, targeted ones. So maybe you could do, like, a Battle of the Network shows Icons line or a Genius line and just have people from all kinds of different shows.
Right.
Someday.
When we get over X amount of no. We get this amount of Twitter followers.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks for joining us.
Join us next time for another exciting episode of Battle of the Network shows. Learn more, leave feedback, and and suggest future episodes at battleofthenetworkshows.com. Follow us on Twitter at BatNetShows, and like our Facebook page, facebook.com/battleofthenetworkshows.